Ready? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a review on the 991.1 GT3. This is kind of the first, I would say, modernized GT3 or GT car period. The 996 was the first one, of course. It's a very raw, very visceral vehicle. 997, which a lot of purists think is the perfect 911. The GT3 and the RS and the 997s and the 4.0s and all that stuff are incredible vehicles. This is the first year that they kind of got, bloated a little bit, got fitted with a PDK instead of the manual. A lot of people didn't like that. Personally, on a track car, PDK is almost undeniably better. A lot more tech in this car, a lot more power. The power band just feels so much better to me personally in the 991s compared to the 997s. Pretty much bulletproof car, but we'll go through this car and I'll kind of show you what I look for when I'm purchasing these vehicles. The kind of the things you want to have, the must-haves, the things that are nice but not needed. I always start off with the front. So on the front of this car, like any GT car, the plastic front lips are disposable. They get chewed up, beat up. They're pretty inexpensive to replace. So I always tell people, hey, it is what it is. If it gets scraped up, you can go to Porsche. They'll have one in stock more than likely. It's super easy to snap on, so it's not a big deal. These headlights, especially 991 and above, have a coating on them, and most people that buy these cars, they want the PPF, at least on the front. PPF in these headlights is I don't know the word for it, but it's a blessing and a curse, because PPF, you want to protect the headlight because it's a pricey unit, but down the road, when you go to peel the PPF off, 7 times out of 10, that coating comes off with the PPF and the headlight's pretty much toast. You can try to refinish it and re-PPF it, but it will peel off. So if you have one of these cars right now that has PPF on the headlights, beware when you go to remove it. That is a high possibility chance that it'll pull a coating off with it. This car has the steel brakes on there instead of the carbon ceramics. Personal preference, if you're going to be doing a lot of hard driving, a lot of track, personally you want the steel brakes. It is extremely cheaper to maintain this brake system. I think it performs just as well as carbon ceramics. Personally, the carbon ceramics on street driving, especially when they're cold, they're very spongy, and they don't feel that great until you get heat in them. So the steel brakes to me is not a deal breaker on these cars. To me, it's just as good as a carbon ceramic. Of course, the looks of the carbon ceramics look cool, yellow calipers, yada yada yada. But steel brakes perform, in my eyes, just as well, unless you're taking the car 10-10. Moving along, this car does have the front lift option, the axle lift. A lot of people that buy these cars, that is a deal breaker. They want the front lift, and the car doesn't have the front lift, they don't want it. Personally, these cars don't sit that low to me compared to some comparable cars. Front lift's nice, but once again, to me, that's not a deal breaker. It wouldn't bother me too much. Moving around, of course, the 991s, the wing the rear end of the car is just beautiful. Wide hips. This car has the blacked out model designation and Porsche logo. Looks fantastic. This one actually has exhaust on it. It's a valved exhaust. These cars, you can do the Dundon headers with the crack pipe and they sound ridiculous. Even in factory, they sound great. Tail lights, you can have the option to get these red, get the all clears. Personal opinion, the all clears always look kind of funky to me on these cars. So the red lights, I think, accent the car much better. A lot of guys, the make or break for them are bucket seats. Most of the cars are going to have either bucket seats or 18 ways. This car has 18 ways, as you can see. It really depends on, what do you want of the car. I like both. I like bucket seats I had in my GT4. I think they're extremely comfortable. I am a smaller framed guy, so that could be why. But if you're gonna be doing like a lot of rallies or long drives, the 18 ways are impossible to beat. From the 911 to the Macans, the Cayennes, 18-way seats are just an incredibly comfortable seat. You can pull the bolsters in tight. They feel great. They hold you in fairly well compared to most other cars. This car has quite a bit of options as far as the deviated stitching, the fuse panel cover and deviated stitching. They have the vents and deviated stitching, sport chrono deviated stitching, leather, all leather wrapped. Surprisingly, the steering column isn't. That's pretty much the only thing that's not wrapped in leather. With the piano trim, which I don't see very often. Usually it's carbon or aluminum. So the piano trim actually is really cool in this car. GT Sport steering wheel because GT3. Most of the GT cars are going to be kind of the same options as far as it comes to this panel. You have your PDK Sport. You don't have your sport mode in the GT car. It just comes, you're in sport mode all the time in your next car. Sport exhaust, like I said, the front axle lift. This car is aftermarket radio fitted. Personally, it's not my style, but I understand why a lot of people do it. They think the Porsche interface is very dated. T-car, because I'm more worried about the exhaust, the driving experience. Sport chrono in red, which I always love. You know, the sport chrono being red, the tachometer being red. I've been a big fan of that. Storage compartment in Alcantara, or race tech as Porsche calls it. When it comes to the .1, the GT3s, especially the early models, the item that sticks out the most is the engine. The engines fail in these cars pretty often on track, but Porsche has a 10-year warranty, unlimited miles, so it's not really a scare to me. Maybe after 2025, when we get up in that year range, that's when these cars will probably start to get a little questionable, because the engines you're going to have to pay for out of pocket instead of the Porsche covering them. I've seen it happen many times. It is a thing. We got somebody trying to race us right now. It's an electric vehicle, but pretty quick. These also have PDK. It's a little sluggish off the start on these early model PDKs. They kind of refined it later on in the years. There are some software updates that you can do to make that take off a little more immediate. You can also do like a Cobb PDK tuner, takes away that sluggishness a little bit. But once you get up in the revs and banging through gears, it's beautiful. There's not too many other issues on this car, really. I mean, just your typical stuff, water pumps leak sometimes, and very few oil leaks. This is a Porsche. It's a GT car. They're pretty much bulletproof. We don't see very many actual repair problems with them, as long as they're maintained. Keep your plugs, coils changed out. Do your PDK services with the filter. Do the differential service. Do the just keep the fluids maintained in these cars, and they're going to last you an extremely long time.